Hello and welcome to the Positive Future for Health podcast, where I invite natural health experts to come and share their knowledge, their guidance to guide us to good health. And I'm your host, Althea Finch. I'm the creator of the Pain Free Method, which is how to be pain free by tuning into you. So if you want to find out more about that, you can go to painfreedom.co.uk. And next week is a very special week in Pain Free World. I am starting a group guidance, taking everybody through the whole Pain to Pain Free program, which is a 90-day program, which is what I run to teach people to be pain free. And lots of P's today, P. It's starting on the 1st of September. And if you need help for long-term pain or conditions, you want help for that, and you're considering coming to get my help, this week on Wednesday and Thursday, I'm running free little taster sessions that you can come and find out how it works and if it's for you. So do book yourself onto that. Go to painfreedom.co.uk. Okay, so on today's podcast, we have the amazing Maxime, and I met her recently at the Sun and Moon Festival this year, which was amazing. Do go next year if you catch that. Maxime, I love her energy, very gentle, very soft, but kick ass in there as well. And I think what she's got to share today is really, really touching, really important. When many of us go through dark nights of the soul or get to moments in our lives where you come to the end of the road, you don't know where to turn, you lose everything maybe, or you lose yourself or something like that. I know I have. I've been through that too. And if only I'd known Maxine how to navigate that strange, uncharted water and with myself and with my life. I was lost for 2 or 3 years, and it would have been really useful. So I'm thrilled that she's come onto the podcast, going to be talking about this. So Maxine, how did you get onto all of this? How do you know about this? What drew you to this knowledge and this guidance?
Thank you. It's so funny being here. I never ever thought I'd be on a podcast. So
You're
part
here.
of I used to have such a fear about public speaking, and when we met and when I said yes to this, I didn't have any fear at all, and I was thinking, wow, that's really different because I think in school when I used to have to speak, my arms would be shaking so much, and I would like literally be physically sick, and uh, and I'd be trying to learn other people's stuff. Whereas on this invitation, all I have is like my own truth. And I've been thinking about the questions that I said would cover about what is intuition, what is trust, how do you know what's true? And I wrote down, truth doesn't require effort. You know, when it's true, we don't need to learn. We don't need to worry about saying the right thing. We don't need to be worried about the outcome. I think all I have is my truth. And I feel a bit wobbly saying this because it's kind of the first time in front of a potentially larger audience. Um, but I do
Excellent.
have
Loving it. Thank you so much.
I do have enough self-presence to feel like I channel what is true for me and then to feel rooted in that. So yeah, that's been a journey and it's been really cool to see. Like I've been like, why aren't I nervous? And yeah, feeling how rooted I am in my own truth. So thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome.
And to answer your question, yeah, I didn't have any awareness of kind of this kind of work or path when I was younger at all. Um, my mom's a homeopath, so she was quite alternative, and we lived in Botswana when I was a child, which is, yeah, it's a alternative. It's like to be native of a different place and to be very in touch with nature. And I moved to the UK when I was about 11. I went to boarding school, and that was a completely different environment with completely different information. So I have both. I know in my bones what it's like to feel completely part of nature and can feel so connected and with the natural world and animals. And then I also have the experience of like being in school and conditioning and so stressed to do everything right by other people and seeing myself through other people's eyes. And that fear of exams, you know, I had nightmares or dreams, repeating dreams about always being examined. Like for my whole life, I've had it, always being tested, and that fear of like, oh my God, I forgot to learn what I'm supposed to say. Um, so yeah, that's been a thread. And then when I was about 29, I was in a relationship. I was in a really long-term relationship, and we'd ended up living in Portugal. And I was really happy. I loved my life. I had a dog. I lived in a beautiful house. I was painting. I was using my creativity. And about once a month, I would just, my world would kind of like turn to ashes, and everything that usually made me happy would just mean nothing. And I was really disturbed by how happy I could be one day and then like how low I could be the other day. And I remember talking to someone about it, and they were like, that happens every month, right? And I was like, yeah, every month. And they were like, come on, you're a woman. And I was like, oh.
Oh yeah.
And I really wasn't in touch with my cycle. And it turned out it wasn't happening on my period, it was happening on my ovulation. And I started seeing a therapist, and she was like, why would that happen at the stage where you're supposed to be your most fertile, you're most in the world? Why would you go inwards, and why would you stop being able to interact with people? And I was like, I guess it's because I don't feel safe. And then that was opening up just this huge can of worms. Um,
Sometimes it takes a therapist or a friend or something to reflect at you. Otherwise, we sort of live our lives. We just live our patterns, don't we? Or we just get on with the day or whatever. But sometimes it takes a mirror to just say, well, what about that?
and
We
it
do know the answers, isn't it? Like you did.
most uncomfortable mirror, and I hated it. I remember she was always kind of showing me that my family was dysfunctional, and I didn't have that reality. I didn't have that perspective at all. I loved my family. I loved my childhood. I thought I was the luckiest person in the world. And she was kind of showing me like how things had, yeah, dysfunctional was the word she would use. And at the time, so I broke up with my partner in Portugal, and I'd moved back into my family house. And then there was this really uncomfortable mirror about bringing stuff up that I just didn't own or didn't see. Um, and basically, this story could be so long because so many things happened. It wasn't one thing. Life didn't I mean, it did kind of suddenly change, but suddenly changed a lot of times. And it felt like having the rug pulled beneath my feet. So I had it with a job, I had it with a friendship. We tried to start a business together, had it with another friendship. Um, I had it romantically, I've had it, and then when the rug gets pulled under your feet, and like this is also could be called trauma, when we feel shocked. Basically, what happens is we kind of go out of our body and we don't feel safe in our body anymore. So what can happen, really what happened with me is I just kept moving on because I didn't want to cause conflict, and I didn't want to be that uncomfortable mirror to other people that seemed like I was. So when there was conflict and I would be like, why is this happening? I didn't mean to cause any harm, or I didn't mean to do anything wrong. How can someone have taken something I've said in this way? How can they see me like this? And yet they were the one being really angry or upset. I would always blame myself. I would always think I must have done something. They must see something in me that I can't see. And I would always leave because I wouldn't want to continue to cause harm. And so I just kept moving. I kind of kept on running. I lived in so many different places in the UK, Bristol, London, Hampshire, Devon, Cornwall, and always kind of looking for safety outside of myself, always wanting a relationship to be the thing that saved me, always wanting to get an amazing job and then I was going to be fine, or to get this amazing house, or find my thing a lot has been to find community. I really wanted to like pour myself into community and to living in like right relation to others and the land. And it hasn't happened because my inner community, my inner world, my inner family has been like in this state of trauma where I haven't felt connected to all those parts of myself. And I work in this way that's really informed by internal family systems, which is called IFS, and it's seeing ourselves as a system or an ecology. We're not just Maxime, we're not just like this mask of Maxime that you see, but I'm all the selves that I've been in this lifetime. I've been like a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old, and I've been different at every stage of my life.
I love that.
Yeah, and those different parts of me are still alive and they're not all integrated, especially if they've had trauma, they kind of stay frozen in that part. So, for
Yeah.
example, if something happened and I learned like, oh, it's not safe to be like that in front of people, that little part will still be living, but it will be isolated, it won't be connected to the rest of that part. And
Yes.
then like now if an external situation happens that triggers that part is going to come up really loud. And
Doesn't it just?
yeah, and it will be sort of upset or be like, oh my God, I feel so alienated. I can't believe that person did that to me. And we'll forget really where that story comes from and how it's held in this really tender place inside of us. So basically, what I do and what I've learned to do along my journey is to speak to those parts directly.
Okay.
So a lot of psychologists will like slowly filter down through the stories until they might get to that part. And what I do is like through a lot of different tools from different places like internal family systems, um, sort of shamanism, the idea of using active imagination and going on a journey is to talk to that part like it's real because it is real. And so we go we just what I do is kind of take us on like a grounding meditation to come into our body, to come into a state of trust with ourselves, to come into a state of alignment. And then it's amazing because it's really magical. We can just ask that part, you know, what's going on, how are you? And it's so similar, Althea, to your method in this way.
It's very, I can see it's very kind of overlapping then, cousin of it or something. Yeah.
Because it's just being direct, it's being really direct with ourselves, but not in this way of taking ourselves to account, in this way of being compassionate, like,
Yeah.
you're hurting, let me hear you. And in that way, it's really aligned to feminine wisdom because it's, um, yeah, we're meeting ourselves, we're meeting our pain with compassion, and we're not trying to brush over or get to the next thing or say, like, yeah, there's obviously something wrong here, but I've got stuff to do. Like the feminine way and the mother is to hold the part that's hurting. And
Yeah.
if we were trying to get somewhere, like imagine if we're on a journey in our life, I think we're kind of often we're told to like lead from the front and to go as fast as we can and be as progressive as we can. Whereas
Achieve, get to a result, make things happen.
you'll never get anywhere unless all of you is along for the journey. So we've got to go right to the back of the train, to the one that's limping behind, to the one that feels lost and forgotten, and say, like, oof, let me be with you. Let me
Mm.
tend to you so that we can all go together and we can get back into alignment.
I'm loving this. I just really feeling the vibes on this, the reality and the truth of this. And yeah, I mean, we are moving to the age of Aquarius, which is coming out of what do you call it? Paternal rule. Is that what it's called? And coming into more sensitive and tuning in. And of course, we can't make those patterns go away. And sometimes we don't even realize we're running those patterns. But I like to think, when something is stopping you, you cannot go forward to the things that you want. That's a clear indicator that you're running some kind of pattern. And I love the way that you're doing this. So you do it by compassion and connecting to. What if somebody doesn't know what pattern it is?
Well, the body knows. So the mind often it doesn't have a clue, and people will say, I'm not angry. And so often our mind tells us one story, and our body actually, when we go into it, is telling a completely different story. And
Yeah.
it's not like a different story, it's like a different kingdom. So what I do in the sessions, I do the coaching sessions, and coaching's a really nice method for this because it's not hierarchical. I'm just holding space for you. So I'm saying like what's going on and just asking questions, but never like telling you what it is or advice. So it's really open container. And it will start by just saying like what's going on, and people will talk. And then I go, okay, like, would you like to take this into the body? And then what happens is I make notes, because what comes out is very often like it has that vibration of truth, that resonance of truth, but it
Mm.
doesn't reach the mind. It's really strange. So I need to take notes to tell people what they say, and then I read it back to them, because very often when you come back to like your more conscious in your mind state, you kind of forget. It's really weird. It's like the slate's been wiped clean. You're like, did I?
Different language, isn't it? Different focus. Chinese to Japanese, Chinese to Spanish, I call it, you know?
Do you find that as well then?
Definitely. And I can always tell when something is very difficult to go to, or somebody can't connect, or they're avoiding or something for some reason, because they'll talk about the body and the symptoms. And when I ask them to feel into things, they talk about the body again. They talk about the symptoms, what the doctor told them or something. So I can feel when they're struggling to go to the body, which is where the release is. Yeah. But
And,
there's no push though, isn't it? Healing's people are ready to heal when they're ready, I think. There's no reason to push.
and I find I'm really experiencing that now. Because I'm finding it's difficult to get people to listen to the body when they don't want to, because there's very good reason why we don't listen to our body.
Yeah.
And I think what I feel, we are scared if we listen to our body, then we have to make the changes. And maybe I'm not ready to lose the partner or change the job, or stop drinking coffee, or all the things that make me me and keep me safe and secure. So it's,
Or could it be scared to go to the thing that they know is inside?
yeah, well, I think both. But for some reason, that fear is such a strong threshold. I think that separation between body and mind can be so strong. We're like, I can't listen, and I have to do, because if I stop for 1 second, my whole life is going to crumble. And it's kind of doesn't make sense when you say it, but that when it's held inside the body, it's so strong that we feel like
Yeah,
we can't stop for a second. And we don't want anybody to tell us or to try and show us that there might be something there that we don't want to hear.
definitely. Definitely. And I think there's no point to push through these barriers because that's your safety net for whatever reason. And I think it's really important to respect that line where you are. But then I find that in life, like it sounds like it happened to you and it's happened to me, that if you don't go to balance, which is what it's all about self-love and self-balance at the end of the day, I think, what healing is. Full acceptance of your whole self. That life will kind of kick you up the bum anyway.
Yeah,
I-
exactly. So I feel a bit like Cassandra, that prophet in the Odyssey, who's like the one that can see, and everyone's not listening to her. I often feel like I'm this advocate for your body and for integration with your whole system, not just your head, not just your mind, not just what you think you have to do, but like
yeah,
for the kind of the the deeper wisdom, the feminine wisdom, the parts of you which are forgotten. And I feel like I can see that and I can feel it. And I can especially feel that in relationships with people, when I'm with people for a long time, when I'm in relation to them, those bits, they kind of speak louder than anything that person is saying. And it's a difficult place to be advocating for something which the people don't want to hear.
and
And
how do you deal with that? How do you, because if you take on people's stuff, um, how do you handle that? What do you do from when you feel that they can't go there?
it's my biggest challenge. That's what I navigate. And that's kind of why it's really amazing for me to be um, to be a coach and to be paid to do that, because that's kind of where I've been a lot in relationships, is kind of seeing the unseen, feeling what isn't felt by others, and feeling really powerless. So I kind of realize that's a superpower. That's not a superpower, that's a power that everybody has. Maybe some people have it kind of more like stronger, or it's more in their reality than others, but we all have this power. We all have this power of intuition. We all have this power of like really deep listening. We all have this power to be able to connect to much more than we think we can with our conscious mind. Like we can connect
Mm.
to not only everything in our body, but we can connect to the living world. We can connect to everything in nature. We can connect to other people. We can connect telepathically. Like we have so much power. And our mind and the system, it doesn't happen by accident. The whole system, the whole patriarchal structure tells us that we're powerless, and all of our information comes from the outside.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know when I first started, when I had my breakthrough, knockdown, kick up the bum moment, it took me 2 or 3 years to find my flow. But you know what? That was a really important time that I started the pain-free method. I had an epiphany of healing. I suddenly it just downloaded, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's it. Connecting to the self. And I poured all my love into hands-on body work, and helping people. I thought I could cure the world. And over the next couple of years, um, I realized I was taking all this stuff on physically. I could feel people's pain physically move through my body. And after a couple 2, 3 years, I just burnt out. I had to stop all treatments. Like I just completely burnt out. So that was another lesson, to learn to cleanse and let go of other people's stuff. Because we are all connected. I do totally believe what you say. But then you have your stuff and I've got my stuff and everyone's got their stuff. So um, it's important to cleanse and let go of what's not you, I think.
And I think the last part of the story about um, why this can be so difficult, and why we don't want to hear our body, is also the integration. Like that's the bit that I find really challenging, is when even when we do hear, it's really, that journey hasn't even begun yet. The journey is like how we take that into our life, like how fully
Yeah.
we can receive it and kind of bring that feminine, what's been underground, out into the light, and create with it and make with it. And that's the bit also I find, I feel like I'm at the beginning of a journey of like actually how we can support each other to integrate and not judge. Because
Mm.
when we receive wisdom, like, oh yeah, it's like I've just got to do this, or yeah, to feel this, a part of ourselves that we've never felt before, and we can feel compassion for it in the moment, and integrate it. But it's like, and then how do I live with that vulnerability? How do I really live in honor of that vulnerability? And that's really tough. Like that's really tough to kind of bring that into the center, and to trust that it will change our lives, and it will be completely different in a way that we cannot control. But to really, to take something which has been exiled and on the outside, and put it, slowly, like drop by drop, but like back into the center. Like, yes, those parts of me which have been lost, which didn't feel good enough, which felt shame, which felt guilt, which felt anger, all those things I don't want to be, to put those back into the center, and to start including them, to like
Mm.
to really live inclusively of all the things we've exiled. And you can really see this on a systemic level, like listening to like the earth wisdom and the people that have been marginalized, and re-centralizing the earth in the way that we live, re-centralizing marginalized people, and saying like, I trust in this wisdom that has been taken
Yeah.
out of the system. Feminism, all the things, even listening to our children, listening to our old people, all the people who, all, yeah, animals, like so many so many parts of us have been kind of pushed out. And to can you imagine what the world would be if all those aspects were right in the center of where we made our decisions and how we lived and like how we got up in the morning and how we made our choices.
Absolutely. And I do agree that we are connected to all parts. And when I mean, I'm going through a healing process in my lifetime too, like many of us. And I find that when you've got something that you don't want to go there and you are integrating it, I find that it's just before the integration is the fearful bit. The separation is the tension, is the pain, the separation from your parts. And when you do finally allow connection and reintegration, you actually feel peace and symptoms can drop away. And um, so I guess people like you and I are sort of facilitating that step over that line, that the the other and connection. And I agree, it's very much about trust. But then when you do integrate, even just a little bit, your whole world will change. The peace begins to come, and
And
it's
it's
all controlled by you.
Yeah. And it's such a difficult thing to advocate because you're seeing from the other side of the fence. But like every time we've had separation, I love how you describe like the tension and the conflict in that. There is so much fear on the, so I'm thinking like of slavery, you know, there's so much fear from the people who had vested interest in that. Like, we can't let this go. We've been holding on to this for way too long. Like, the world will
Yeah.
let this go. And we have one or two people, or hopefully a lot more people who really advocating like this doesn't feel right, you know, there can be a different way, we can be together, there can be freedom. And it's so hard to break through that fear. And then there is beauty, and there's also, it takes a really really long time to integrate, it takes a really long time to and what I mean, it doesn't necessarily take a long time, but I guess what I'm speaking to is the the forces that made us shut things down, they don't go away. So that's like, yeah, kind of,
Fear, protection, and
yeah. And
self protection. Or
feeling kind of like, for example, if I don't feel safe to be myself in every situation in the world, um, if I don't feel safe to be like really silly and to wear whatever clothes I like and to dance like a complete nutter, you know, that's there for a reason. That's there for a reason. And I can choose to break through it, but it does actually take time and discernment to put myself in situations where it's like, oh, I feel safe here. I feel this is the right situation. These are the right people who can hold that vulnerability. Um, so it doesn't necessarily take a really long time to integrate, but I think I'm really with an awareness that the forces that make us shut down, the forces that make us exile from ourselves on a personal level and like a intrapersonal level, global level, those still exist, and they just require a lot of care for us to keep on nurturing the kindness and compassion, and create more spaces where we feel accepted within ourselves. And like, Emily's here on this call, and we do retreats together, and she's an amazing yoga teacher, and we create these spaces which are all about self-acceptance, which are all about like every part of you is welcome, and whatever state you're in, you're welcome here. And we do that in nature, and we're both trained nature facilitators, and nobody knows what that is. And it's such a
well, I do, and then people following the podcast do, because we've had lots of people doing forest bathing and all sorts of nature connection things. So some of the people on this call probably know about these things, I'm
I
sure.
don't need to explain, but I guess I can quickly
Please
say
do.
that people, um, and I also speak for myself. I could be in nature quite a lot without feeling connected to it. So for a lot of my life, I like went on walks. I lived in the countryside, but I didn't really feel connected. And yeah, I heard the term nature connection on a podcast like this, and I was just like ding, I'm in. And I Googled it and I was on a course the next week and I got a birthday place and everything just fell into place. And the whole thing about that is similar to the work that we both do. It's like with the direct, you're not connected unless you have the intention to connect.
Yeah.
So just how we do with our pain, with our bodies, we can be like, oh yeah, I have pain, but you're not connected to that pain unless you really want to connect and you create space to connect. You're
Yeah.
not connected to your inner child unless you really open that channel. And nature connection is the same. It's like we, as facilitators, we create the space. So quietening the judgment, um, getting in our bodies, movement, dance, yoga, meditation, all these like wonderful tools. We did this wonderful retreat in the spring, and yeah, one thing I did was just I bathed in this really freezing spring and then covered myself in mud before all the participants arrived. I was like completely naked, covered in
Did you
mud.
warn them first? Thought they were going some sort of
That
treat
would
as
have
this.
been a huge initiation, but it was just me and Emily at this stage, and we were landing, and it was just the best way to land. I was literally completely like my body was just integrated into the earth, and it brought out this different side of me. I felt like really naughty, and I felt like a pixie, and I crept up on Emily, and it was so stupid because she could see me coming. It gave me so much joy. So
And it's what children do, isn't it? When we're children, we do this kind of stuff all the time. Everything's interesting, and I even notice when adults speak to children, I notice the way that they answer us, adults. They do it in the most interesting, fun, naughty or pushing kind of way that they can come up with. It's like a game. It's all a game. It's not to be bad. It's a game, playing words game, playing behavior game, physical game. It's all games and play, isn't it? It's fascinating to watch children around adults, I find. And yeah, so you do these forest connection
yes, it's
retreats then too?
talking about nature connection and why it's so important. So I was saying like we maybe often we don't realize how disconnected we are, and we need help to hold. We don't need, but sometimes we do, and we don't realize like how what a wonderful channel it is when you have the holding from like facilitators, from coaches who can see with a much bigger perspective. And we have so many tools we can use to actually connect. So I was saying about like, yeah, games, being in our bodies. Another huge thing we do is sharing, just being in the circle and sharing everyone's perspective. And there's something so magical about that, something so grounding for me to hear authentically how everyone is, like what do you feel where you are, rather than what we are conditioned to say, to be polite or to think about what other people might be experiencing, what we should say to help them feel comfortable, stuff like this. So when we do the sharing circle, you speak from the heart, and you have a pause, and before, and you kind of speak more from your body-centered place. And then when I hear every single person, talk, it brings in this huge fullness which wasn't there
Mm.
before when it was just in my mind. It brings in this, it opens up another world, and you feel connected. Um,
So
maybe not
can you
another word, but a whole world. It brings complete fullness.
I can feel that. And Maxine, can you talk about somebody that you've taken, or group, or someone you've taken through what happened when they came, what were they struggling with when they came to you, and how did they end up? What did you do with them? Could you tell us about an experience you had with taking somebody through this journey? A lot of people have long-term chronic pain or conditions, for example. What's your experience of your clients then? Could you give us an example that you don't mind to share?
The one that's coming to mind, um, I'm just wondering like what level to share this. Um, but recently with someone who, wait, let's remember where exactly was experiencing pain. Okay, someone who um, wanted to do a lot, but felt quite like in chaos, and uh, felt a lot of heaviness. And um, so we did a coaching session, and yeah, that heaviness was overwhelming. But when we went into the body, it was like a rock, a big boulder. And so, like, one of the questions that is always really useful is how old is this part? And it's so funny because it really like throws people like, what? But then they're
What do you
like,
mean?
yeah, then they're like, the answer just comes. And so she was saying it's actually much older than me. It's actually much older than me. And then with that question, when you really start to see things or feel things with compassion, rather than like, oh, I know what this is, or this hurts, or la la la, you're actually like, okay, then the curiosity kicks in and the compassion, and you start being able to relate to it in a different way. And it turned out to be connection, the way that she connected to where she was from. So she was from Poland, and this felt like a big boulder that was stopping her. It was dragging down her feet, and like was I think even like her arms and her legs were sort of in manacles. And when we were talking to this part, it wasn't like a bad part, you know. And the in internal family systems, which I mentioned earlier, which is like seeing ourselves as just like a lot of parts, not as one unified thing. The book the founder Richard Schwartz wrote is called No Bad Parts, because it's like shadowed
Very
like
good.
underneath underneath everything that scares us inside of us is something that really wants to help, but it's really trying to do its best, but it's just got stuck in this mechanism, and it's not necessarily communicating to the rest of the body. So yeah, this boulder turned out to be kind of how she perceived her connection to the land where she was from, her ancestry. And yeah, Poland has like always been somewhere that other countries have invaded and taken over, and she carried that fear within her from her ancestors.
Mm,
Fear of like not being safe and always having to try so hard, and then that was like really weighing her down. So we went on a beautiful journey, and to release the burdens of this, um, and this is an amazing trick, but we can always release our burdens, and we can release them with the help of the elements. And we can literally do that with our active imagination, and it's instant. Like, as you know, with the pain free method, which I've done with you, it's actually instant. So we did this thing about releasing the burden, and with the active imagination of like, where does it want to go? And she put it in a river in a special place in Poland. It's between two rivers. And she put this rock in a river, and you know, her body immediately changed, immediately became lighter. And
love it. Beautiful.
yeah, and then that's not the end of the story, you know. It's like, and then what wants to happen? It's like, well, I want to pick up some sand from this place so that I can feel connected in a way that doesn't feel so heavy. So she took this, like, in her mind's eye, this tiny handful, you know, which is manageable. So you haven't lost that connection with your ground, your earth, your country where you're from, but you have it in a way that actually helps you rather than hinders you. So stuff like that, like a journey like that, it's kind of like a dream, and it can be really beautiful, and you can feel the effects immediately. And also it can be something that you work, that has a lot of power within it, that you can work very powerfully over time. So just those small, there were so many clues in that, you know, the weight, the heaviness, the connection to the land, connection to the ancestors, and then
Love it.
and then
Beautiful.
the question of like how we relate to it in a way that actually nourishes us and remineralizes us rather than weighing us down. And it turned out she had problems with minerals in her body. She doesn't retain So it has all those different levels, and it's like this kind of seed of information which you can continue to work with. It has so much depth of information.
So powerful. And the body reflects you. There's not going, your body's not going wrong. It's reflecting something like a mirror. It's reflecting your inner experience like a mirror. It's not some symptoms, and maybe remineralizing what was that might have been the right thing for her. But this inner story, I think, is where it's at though, actually. So let's ask so Louise has come in with a question. We'll open up to questions now. I could talk to you for hours, Maxime, but others want to ask questions as well. Louise, do you want to come on and ask a question? She's asking about, I'll make it so that everybody can unmute. You can all unmute now. To what extent, Louise says, to what extent do you can you go into the body? She did some training years ago, but can't remember what it was called, where it was required to go right inside yourself, and she found that difficult.
So the question is, how do you go into your body, or how far do you go into your body?
Yes, it's. I remember the requirement was that we actually. It was like diving inside your body, and I never felt as if I achieved it. Um, how do you dive in and find your heart or your liver, I suppose if you're a bit squeamish anyway, it's not really. I mean, I'm identifying a lot with what you're saying. In my own life, and, but there also, although there's body work, there's also quite a lot of head work and thinking and talking about it, which with Althea we don't get so much into that kind of head stuff. But it's connecting to that part of you, that part of your body. I can understand about connecting to parts of who you were when you were 3, when you were 5, when you were 16, whatever. But where you connect to parts of your body, is it when you get pain in your body?
Well, I'm just wondering, like, how much time we have to go into it, because I could do like a demonstration of how we start to connect.
We could do that, if you want to do a little demo.
Okay, yeah. So basically, we have been talking in our head, and it's like this contradiction of like talking so much about the body wisdom completely in the head, and that's that's so normal. So yeah, just inviting you to like actually let's get in our bodies a bit, and so
let's do it. So if everybody keeps muted, then I'll go muting too. And Maxime, take over. It's all yours.
So yeah, just acknowledging that we've really been in the heads and inviting to come into our body. So do a little shake or stretch, whatever feels good. Really kind of like asking your body, like, oh, acknowledge we've just been sitting down and like talking. So boring. So, so sort of like, yeah, giving yourself a rub, a pat, kind of noticing how you feel. Like we've just been sitting. Does anything feel tender or achy? Is any part of you kind of talking to you? I'm just going to close this window. Yeah, giving yourself a little bit of shake, maybe like tightening your ankles or wrists, getting into your joints. And just kind of turning our inquiry around so our attention's actually in our body. And you either talk a lot about your problems or you move a lot. It's like the snow globe, and all the snow goes, and then we can come down and just invite all that snow to settle on the ground. And then as we do, we invite our consciousness, our mind, our awareness, just to settle down and to travel down. towards the earth, and invite everything in your body just to start to settle and go down, as if it's following the earth's pull of gravity, until your awareness is at your feet, in your feet. And then from this place, becoming aware that your feet are connected to the earth. And if they're not on the earth, maybe your chair, your kind of pelvis, your sitting bones, or your back if you're lying down. So it's actually supported, whether it's by a bed or the floor, supported by the earth. And just to really lean into that and trust that the support that the earth is giving you in this moment. And as you feel supported, you can let go a little more. And breathing into that connection of support with the earth, that trust that the earth actually has you. And we're not alone. We're not alone in our body or our mind, that we're actually connected to this living organism of earth. And imagine, so if your feet are on the floor, imagine the soles of your feet just open up and little tendrils of light, like roots, begin to connect with you down to the earth. Or if you're sitting and that's what's touching the chair, just imagine like there's an opening there, and these little tendrils come down like roots, connecting into the Mother Earth. And breathing into that connection, being aware of the light that comes from that space, that spaciousness, that space, if we allow it and if we give our attention to it. And then from this space, you can let go of anything heavy that's been weighing you down, that you've been holding on to. And you can also invite in the fresh energy from the earth. So when we're connected like this, it's like a connection of love when you're with a friend, that you can let go of stuff and you can also receive at the same time. You can also receive like fresh energy. And then from this space, just become aware of how your body feels in this moment, this very moment. If there feels like there's resistance to this connection, this opening, if there feels like there's heaviness or pain or tension or even lightness. So whatever's calling you in your body, with me I've got a tingling on the top of my head. Whatever's kind of speaking loudest, just go to that place. It might be a pain in your shoulder, it might be a little tingle on the tip of your nose. Go to that place and just sense in how it feels, if there's sort of color or heaviness, or what's the texture of that feeling, like how would you describe it? And then I don't know if we've got time for this now, but my next question, when you're with that sensation and you're feeling open towards it and just approaching it with curiosity, it's like, what message does that part have for you? If it could share a message, what message is that? What would it say to you if it had a voice? And we don't have time to go into that fully now. So maybe just, if you can, just give that part like a hug or a sense of feeling that it has been received, it's been felt in your body, in your consciousness, and that you can come back if you would like to explore more with that part in time. So yeah, just giving that acknowledgement to what you have received and what you felt. And then we come out of the body in the same way that we came in. So just coming back to the sensation of your feet on the earth, that connection with the earth. And then when feels right for you, coming back to your body in this room in your own time, and you may like to give your body a bit of a squeeze. Breathe into your belly, and when you're ready, open your eyes and again stretch. See with curiosity what you feel and what needs to happen. Maybe you would like to have a bit of a wiggle, or maybe feel a bit differently than we did before that exercise. I'd be really curious what came up for anybody, or if they what didn't, or if they had resistance, or what did you feel, Louise? Were you able to connect to your body? To dive in, as you said? Yeah.
Anybody want to share? I had a hot flush. Mine went red and I was like, go with it. Go with it. All the heat coming up and I started sweating. I thought, go with it. And when you said, what's the message in this? And I stayed with it. It was tread my own path, be myself, do it my way. That's what I got.
What did the heat feel like? What did that signify to you?
The demand. I mean, my parents were very demanding on me, and it had to be done like this or that, and we had to be on time, and we had to dress up, and we had to put the knife like that. It was lots of order. Have to do it. You have to do it whether you like it or not. So I felt a bit of that, and it was mixed between my parents and my inner self telling me, "Do it your way." That's what I felt, like a demand, or the rush. It was like anger of leave me alone, you know.
So you were feeling the demands, and then you were also feeling the resistance to those demands, and then
Yeah, that's creating the red and the hot.
Yeah, and so that was really coming through, felt sensation in your body, and then with a really strong message, which was follow your path, do it your own way.
Yeah,
Which is isn't this the title of this podcast session as well? Something very similar.
what did you put? Trust yourself. Yeah, what was your title? It was healing from within, learning to trust yourself. Yeah, don't be afraid of yourself and your pain. Is the message in there, and learning to trust yourself. You're 100% enough. You're made in the perfect form of you. That's what I believe.
And that's that pathway, you know, that listening to yourself pathway, listening to if it was a hot flush, if it was pain, if it was numbness, whatever it was, you know, that's your path. And then if you take those messages, whatever came up, and listen to them, that is where the healing from within begins. So that's what I mean, like learn to trust yourself, and then you are able to follow your path because you're creating a new path for yourself. You're not doing what someone has told you to do.
Empowering to connect to your truth, whatever that is. And it might be something that I often, when I work with people, I find that they don't want to accept some part of it because other people don't like that bit of them. But I would say, well, blow it. You know, if you're made that way, then that's your authentic self. Then connecting to that and being who you really are is empowering, actually.
And the world would be such a different place if we were all in connection to all of the bits that, you know, we're not sure about or that haven't been accepted, that are like, oh, I had this idea once but it was a bit crazy, or like, oh no, I was worried what other people would think. If those bits were all in the room, the like the naughty bits and the creativity and the bits that got shut down when we were little, we would be living in the most beautiful, expanded, kindest, creative world, I think.
Exactly. And Caitlin's asking, do you visit schools? This needs to be introduced to a fundamental level. I agree, Caitlin. Oh, Kate, sorry, I'm reading it wrong. Kate.
I love that. No, I've never visited a school. No, never. No, I would actually love to work with children. I would really love to do that because I think the children have less of the threshold between the body and the mind. They're much more open anyway, but
I
beginning.
think you're right, but I think the necessity for it is older. I think the necessity for this. I mean, I have loved this talk, and you've said so much that resonates with me, and I keep on writing notes because you've said so many things that are valuable. But this notion that the mind and the body are separate, that's kind of Descartesian dualism, and it's old school nonsense. I mean, we are our bodies, our brain, our gut, everything is connected, and yet when we teach, I teach biology and among other things, and all the curriculum, everything is broken up into units. So you've got the heart and the lungs, and you've got the digestive system, and you've got eyes, and you've got the endocrine system. Everything is packaged in separate units. What you have done in just such a short space of time, I mean, you really need to send this out, is you have gone, everything is connected, feel it. Our instinct, we talk about a gut feeling, that's our instinct, and our gut sends hormonal messages to our brains, which carry them, which articulate the message. But as you said, you've had feelings, you had tinglings in your fingers. Our bodies are hugely communicative, and I think that what you're offering is enormously valuable, but it needs to be offered to people who are being taught, as you were saying so at the beginning so touchingly, that you were connected to nature when you were in Botswana, and then you went to mainstream school, and there was the fear and the stress and the anxiety, and were you going to make a mistake, and is this right, and is this wrong, and is this true? And truth changes.
Yeah.
Truth changes with time. It changes with new information. But it's gloriously fluid and honest.
Yeah.
I'll shut up and leave it for other people. But I thank you, Maxie.
Amazing,
I
Kate.
really love this.
So much.
Amazing, Kate. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And we do have Rachel Matthews. Anyone know who's met Rachel Matthews of Council Watch fame? She's actually coming on in September, and her next what do you call it? Like her focus, her plan is to develop courses for children. And I would really love to get you both in contact with each other and talk about putting some kind of courses, taster courses together. That's her next endeavor. Can't get the right word. I'm not good at words.
Oh,
Um,
so much we talked about was that threshold, and I guess when you like Kate said, when you approach people at that younger age, it's without so much resistance, and it would be perfect to actually open that channel and empower people so that they can live their whole lives with it rather than backtracking like I've done.
totally.
Mm.
Totally beautiful. Thank you for the question, for the comments, Kate. I loved it and totally in tune with what you're saying as well. I love biology too. So we've come to the top of the hour here. How do people get in contact with you, Maxime? Where do they find you?
I have a website which is called The Inner Cave, and that refers to like kind of shamanistic and indigenous practices where we would visit the cave for that deeper knowledge and that deeper wisdom. And I kind of my feeling was that that cave is inside of us all the time. We can access that at any time. We don't need to go to sacred places in the world or do ayahuasca. We can really go to our inner cave. And so it's the innercave.org, and also I'm on Instagram as the Inner Cave.
Beautiful. I love the synchronicity of the words and the sound and what you do. I love it. And so if you do want to get in contact with Maxime to get some help or have a chat and connect, do connect. You know, this is not the end of the line. Get in contact with Maxime and
Also,
explore what.
at the moment, my practice is donation based, so it's not excluding anyone from money, because I've really struggled with money through my life and I don't want anyone to feel excluded. So pay what you feel and what feels good to you, and you can decide that afterwards. If you haven't received anything, don't need to pay anything.
Amazing. That's beautiful. And I'm wondering if this is the world that we're moving into because of all the what's going on in the world at large of money for one, and then moving into donation based or exchange or some kind of thing. Perhaps I'm feeling whether that's another next sort of stage that we're all going into. Beautiful. Thank you so much. That's amazing. Lots and lots of thank yous in the comments. And Emily, do you want to open up to have a last question? I've been working with Maxi. Oh, of course, yes, Maxi was mentioning about you working together. And honoured to, grateful for all your gracious wisdom to you, Maxine, from Emily. Amazing. Okay, so thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on another wonderful Positive Future for Health podcast. And thank you so much for Maxine to coming onto the podcast and sharing her wisdom and opening us up to this beautiful wisdom and guidance. And we have, of course, more wonderful podcasts coming up. I've mentioned Rachel Matthews, and you can find out you can sign up for all the podcasts coming up on my website, painfreedom.co.uk. And later this week we have What is Spirituality with Sakmet Campbell. Very interesting, very popular call, that one. But sign up for all the ones that interest you. We've got some amazing things coming up. We've got oh, I'm rubbish at names. We've got some amazing people. You'll see everything on the website. We've got Charles Dowding coming up, all about gardening and the no-dig method, and Adam Parker, all about detoxing your body, and Full Power Cacao with Liam Brown from Dragon's Den fame. So all sorts of wonderful talks coming up, but just like Maxime's, amazing people, amazing information. So do come on to those ones. You need to book. And yeah, so if you do need some help from my angle of things, the pain-free method, how to tune into you, to get pain relief. I'm starting a new course on Monday, and I'm offering 2 taster sessions to come onto the taster sessions and have a taster of what my method is all about. And if that's for you, do book yourself onto that. It's all on the website, painfreedom.co.uk. So for now, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on this podcast, and thank you so much to Maxine for sharing your wisdom. Maxime, I always like to leave the last word to my guests. So, what would you like to people to walk away with a thought or a word or something?
If you don't know, if you don't ask, you'll never know. Like if you don't ask, if you don't connect to your body, you will never know what wisdom is there. So my imparting wisdom is take a chance to find out.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Thank you so much, everybody, and I'll see you on the next podcast. Take care for now.
Thank you.
Bye.